Hey everyone, welcome back to another Ask Mevo Anything. I'm Joe Capehart. I'm the lead technical specialist here at Mevo, and I'm super excited to have you back for today's show. If you're a returning viewer, welcome back. I'm glad that you're finding these shows useful and you're enjoying the content. If you're a new viewer, welcome. Be sure to put your questions in the chat. That way I can answer those live today. For today's show, I'm going to be using a single Mevo start. I'm also using this blue baby bottle from Blue Microphone. This is an XLR microphone that's going into a soundboard, going into the back of the Mevo start using the 3.5 audio input on the back of the start, where the start is going to take the audio and video and do all of the syncing. Now this Mevo Start is actually in NDI mode, and I'm running that to Streamlabs OBS to allow Streamlabs to do some demoing. So I can do some demoing of things such like this. Let me see if I can pull that up for you real quick. And I can show you exactly what it actually looks like, potentially. Let's see here. There we go. All right, so I have a demo set up. So if you ever want to see anything in the app, I can do that for you today with no problems. So I'm ready and prepared to demo anything in the Mevo 2.0 app. So please, if you have something you would like to personally see live on today's show, let me know. Outside of that, I will be using everything else. All of the other overlays will be done within the Mevo 2.0 app to include the slides that you'll be seeing. For today's show, I'm going to specifically be covering things such as RTMP and APIs. We're going to talk about what the differences between the two are, and we are going to discuss, preparing for worst case scenarios and just kind of understanding how the two work and why one may or may not fail depending on your specific scenario. And we're going to show and talk a little bit about how you can prepare for that and do some tests in advance to kind of avoid any kind of drastic issues. As I mentioned, please continue to put your questions in the chat. I'm live on YouTube and on Facebook, so I'm more than happy to kind of cover anything that you may have questions about on the show. If we don't get to your show, as always, if you have a technical question or an issue where you need support from a Mevo customer service agent, please go to help.mevo.com, open up a support ticket, and we'd be more than happy to help. If you are on Facebook, I have included the link in the description of the live show, and you can click on that. It'll take you directly to the page that is required to open up a support ticket. Just make sure you include as much information as possible. That way it makes it easier for us to provide a solution quicker. So yes, please continue to put your questions in the chat, and I am going to just jump right in to today's topic. Let me see if I can locate, is it this one right here? Nope, that's the content creators one. I am controlling all of the overlays myself in the Mevo 2.0 app. Oh, that's the one I'm looking for, right? Yes, it is. Wonderful. I'm going to be controlling all of the overlays today all by myself. I'm not going to have any assistance in regards to that. So any time you see me looking down, it's because I'm specifically going over things within the app. So as you can see here, as I mentioned, I'm using a Mevo Start, a Blue Baby Bottle SL from Blue Microphone, and Mevo 2.0 app and Vimeo Producer, which is allowing me to use graphical overlays. And you will be able to see the things that we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about the Mevo story, why Mevo was created. We're going to talk about the methods of streaming, which RTMP, API. We're going to talk about recording a backup, and then kind of preparing yourself for worst case scenarios, because at the end of the day, our goal is to capture content and to produce content. So we have to be prepared for those worst case scenarios, because unfortunately when it comes to anything related to the internet, and when you're starting to put as many things together as Mevo does, you do run into some hiccups. So we're going to show you and talk about how you can be prepared for those situations. That way, no matter what happens, you're ready to go. And I'm going to go ahead and cover the questions. We do have slides like this to remind me throughout the show to go back and look at the questions. So let me go ahead and see what kind of questions we have here before we get into the topic for today. So George Money Moses says, does Mevo have an HDMI out? No, it does not. So the Mevo Start supports RTMP and NDI. It also has webcam mode, which is UVC, and then wireless webcam mode, which is handled over your network. So there is no HDMI out. There's no way to actually convert this. I mean, there are third-party adapters out there. We are doing some internal testing on how those adapters work, but out of the box, Mevo Start is not intended to be used with an HDMI switcher. Max says, I'm using a 2-cam, a Mevo Start, and a Mevo Plus with the new multicam app. I cannot get the multicam app to find audio from my audio mixer. It works great with the regular Mevo app, but not with the single cam app. I'm very curious about how you're connecting your audio Macs. If you're trying to use your mobile device's audio input with something like an iRig, yes, you're correct. Multicam will not display that, but the single cam app will. If you run your audio directly to the Mevo Start via the 3.5 on the back, then the multicam app will automatically detect that and use that audio source. So if you do want to use your mobile device's audio, you can do that, but you need to configure it in the Mevo 2.0 app. And then when you jump over to multicam, it'll automatically use those settings that you had configured in the Mevo 2.0 app. All of these audio settings will be integrated inside of the multicam app. We just haven't gotten there yet. However, that is the workaround. Configure in Mevo 2.0 app if you're trying to use your mobile device's audio, and then it will apply in the Mevo 2.0 app. Jason says, any progress on wireless webcam for Windows? That is a great question, Jason. If you actually are on Facebook right now, you can go to Facebook and search Mevo webcam beta? Question mark. Let me just double check real quick. We do have an open beta. So if you want to go and play with that, you can absolutely do that. Let me just double check the name of so it's the Mevo webcam beta group. Go join it. You can get approved automatically, especially if you're in one of the existing Mevo groups. It should automatically approve you based on your membership of other Mevo groups. If you're not in any other Mevo groups and you go and check out the beta, we will just have to approve you manually. No big deal. We usually do that we get alerts, so we approve it pretty quickly. So you can go ahead and get access to Windows and the Mac, the latest versions on the beta group. Wonderful question. So Michael says, hi from Berlin. Hello, Michael. Just a short question about NDI5. What are your plans to support it? So unfortunately, there's just not enough information out yet about NDI5. If the Mevo Start can support it, I would imagine that we have every intention on doing so. However, until that is actually released, like the SDK is actually released to those developers who support NDI, until it's released, we can't really say whether or not the Mevo Start plays well with it or not. However, it seems really cool. I'm excited to see what it has, especially that remote feature where anyone can access your NDI stream from a remote location. That would really make it super useful. So I'm excited to see it. Unfortunately, there's just not enough access to it yet for us to really speak on whether we see that being integrated or not. Ben says, thanks for hosting these sessions. Find them very useful. Wonderful, Ben. That's the point. We really want to make sure that we're providing useful content. So if you have any suggestions, let us know. I've got my Mevo in with the Ethernet adapter and looking at a PoE switch. How much power do they need to keep powered? An example, 18 watts enough. Okay, so I know Joseph's in the chat. Joseph, if you can go ahead and link Ben to our Ethernet power adapter article, you can see the specs for our PoE immediately in that article. It talks about the input and output power required. So if you just go and take a look, I unfortunately don't have the specs on the top of my head memorized. However, Joseph should be able to get you that article pretty quickly. Fred the Hippo, welcome back, Fred. Any way to have some type of mini monitor connected to the Mevo so that there's a viewfinder on the Mevo? That's a good question. Unfortunately, at this time, that's not possible. I was using like a Raspberry Pi, which was accepting an NDI input from the Mevo Start. So Joseph was on the other side of the room and you could actually see the preview of our show. That's one way you could do it. I mean, quality's not the greatest, but that's one method. As far as like currently, there's no way to actually do it because as I mentioned previously, there is no HDMI out, there's no video out except NDI and RTMP and then UVC. So if you can find a monitor that will accept NDI, RTMP, or a UVC input, then you could technically do it. But as far as like most monitors, you're gonna see or need an HDMI out, and that's just not possible. Max says, Mevo mic doesn't see the audio mixer, which is connected to my iPad. Yes, so if you're using multicam, you're not going to be able to see, oh, wait, so you're saying like you're inputting like a mixer into your mobile device that's running the Mevo mic app. So the Mevo mic app is not going to detect external input. It's going to see Bluetooth devices, and then it's going to see its own source. So the iPad or iPhone, okay, you said iPad. So it'd be an iPad microphone. That source will not change. So if you plug something in, it will be the source that you've plugged in, but the title is not going to change. It's not going to say external audio. It's not going to say audio mixer. The source will remain iPad. So yeah, I would imagine if you tested it and you actually plug it in, then it should work. Now, also note, if you are plugging into your iPad's going to require a TRRS input, which most people use something like an iRig, whereas the Mevo Start requires a TRS. So make sure you're just using the correct one, or your mobile device will not detect it. Ben says, will you be able to add MP4 videos, intros, countdowns, timers, pre-recorded content in the Mevo Multicam 2.0? So Mevo Multicam is just 1.0. However, currently that is the plan, is to have picture-in-picture. Whether or not it's an MP4, AVI, whatever it may be, I can't really speak on that because I have not been able to test something yet. But the plan is to be able to do the picture-in-picture stuff. I believe we do have on Mevo.com, we have a list of four of our major items we're going to hit for multicam app. Let me just scroll down a bit and see if I can find that. I believe it's at the bottom. Yeah, here we go. Coming soon. So we have NDI integration, video playback, picture-in-picture, and advanced audio mixing. So all of those features are 100% coming. You can find that on Mevo.com. Go up to the apps page and go to multicam and scroll down to the bottom of the page, and you'll see all of the features that we're working on. So yeah, you can definitely expect to see video playback, NDI, picture-in-picture, audio mixing, all of those things. App's already a wonderful app. So once we actually get to it, I think it's going to be solid. Looks like I might be doing a little bit of freezing. That's unfortunate, but we will just roll with the punches and get into today's topic. Now that we got the questions out of it, let's talk about APIs. So, without getting too boring, an API is simply something that sends information back and forth between an app and a user. So when you're going through the Mevo app and you are doing something similar to, let's say, Dust Demo. Let's go into and show you what that, I can't do it. I can disconnect here. That's what we'll do. We'll disconnect real quick. Connect to a different Mevo. And I'll show you what this really looks like here. So when you actually get into this location, you see all of these destinations. All of these destinations are running via an API, except that RTMP option at the end, and then the first option, which is the SD card. But you see Facebook, Twitter, Livestream, LinkedIn, Twitch, and YouTube, and then Vimeo at the very end. Now, all of these are running via an API, which means that essentially we have it configured where the two platforms can communicate. So what happens is, for example, Facebook has some set perimeters, and then we have to implement those in our app. So they're like, okay, so when you want to access this person's profile, you need to use this permission. So what essentially happens is, that's not supposed to happen. So what essentially happens is we make a request to Facebook. Facebook reads the request. If it's in a correct format, then they approve it and publish it without needing without needing a lot of things, right? So you don't really need to do much on your end because the application's already doing it. Now, with that in mind, when Facebook or YouTube or Twitch, when they make a change with their API, we have to adjust and modify the app to ensure that the compatibility continues. So if they make an adjustment on the fly, some things can break, APIs can break, and the thing is with those is that basically that API is going to have to verify your login, it's going to verify your account permissions, it's going to verify your group permissions, and all of those things, where when we talk about RTMP, which we'll get into in a moment, that is simply not the case. So let's talk about what happens when you're doing RTMP. Let me go back to the previous app, which is probably going to create some odd noises, but let's see what we've got. Wonderful. All right, so now that we're back in the app, I'm going to go to the next slide, which is RTMP. So RTMP is mainly used for high-speed transmission of audio, video, and data between a flash player, apps, and a server. So why is RTMP different than API? So an RTMP basically is a URL and a key. So that key simply means this is basically your permission to do what you're trying to do. The URL is the destination, the server, which is expecting your stream. And then when that connects, it's going to say, hey, what's your key? And the app's going to provide the key that you've provided the app. And it's going to say, oh, this key belongs to this user on this page. And they 100% already have permission to do that. Now, A lot of users, specifically that I've been seeing lately, have been getting RTMP destination errors. Why would that be? That could be for two reasons. One, maybe the destination's wrong, the URL may be incorrect, or the key is expired. It is a variable key, which means the key changes. Or maybe it's a persistent key, which means the key doesn't change. However, the key may have been moved over or copy and pasted incorrectly, or there may be a typo or something like that. Now, the thing is also with these is when you are using an RTMP URL or an RTMP key, it basically requires you to be able to communicate to that server. For example, if you're on maybe a school network or you're on a mobile network and say you're having internet access issues or internet permission issues. When you're on a mobile network, it may be internet access issues, which means bandwidth is it's being taken up, right? There's not enough bandwidth for everybody. You might see that you're getting 5 bars, which if you've been watching any of our mobile shows, you'll know that that indicates a signal, not necessarily your speed. When you see those bars, it means that you have a great signal to the tower. Does not necessarily mean you have a great speed to the tower. So if a lot of people are having 5 bars to the tower, you're probably not getting great speeds, but you all have great signals, which is cool. However, if you don't have great speeds and you're not actually getting much data flow, it may not actually reach the destination, such as Facebook or YouTube, and you could see an RTMP error. Now, when I was talking about the school networks often block transmission to Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, things like that. That could be a distraction to students or may not have appropriate content for students. So they just block it. They just blanket block all of those social media things. And that could cause issues because now if you're trying to stream from that destination on that specific network, you may notice you're getting RTMP errors, whereas a different location, you're not getting RTMP errors. Your URL is the same, your key's the same, but now the way that you're trying to access it from your origin of your connection is basically behind a wall that can't reach YouTube. As far as the app's concerned, that destination cannot be reached, which is why you get that RTMP destination cannot be reached error if it can't actually communicate with the server. I know that was a lot of information, but here's an example of what this looks like on YouTube. I know I talked about a variable key, the stream key, which is hidden. Mind you, these stream keys, as I mentioned, acts as your permissions and it acts as your access. So I would consider this as a password, and you should not hand this out to just anyone because if they have this key, then they can stream to the destination. Of course, if it's a variable, that key is going to change. However, if it's a persistent key, it will remain the same. So for persistent keys, a common question that I get with these are, can I use the same key over and over? And the answer is absolutely. You can absolutely use the same persistent key. Now, there is a caveat. If you are ending a stream and then beginning another stream almost immediately after, some destinations such as YouTube may have a small buffer between the two. It may not let you reconnect to that same RTMP key immediately for a new event. So you might want to give it some time. If your events are back to back, you may want to create multiple stream keys. What's cool about these stream keys is you can configure them and then configure them in the app before you actually go live. So you can have multiple events already ready to go, have auto start configured, and then you can just begin the stream when you're ready. And you can just change the event and you can name and title them how you see fit within the Mevo app. All right, let's get to this next example here. Now this is what an RTMP key looks like in Facebook. So you'll see that top left says use stream key, that's selected, and that's what's going to be required for you to get that URL and key. It's important to note that the server URL typically does not change. However, if it does change, you really want to make sure that you're confirming before each live, because if it does change, it will not work. Then you have stream key. This one specifically is an example of the old variable keys that Facebook used to provide. You may have noticed if you use RTMP for Facebook now, the stream key has a prefix of FB-, which means it's a variable key. If you want to change that to the typical key that you're used to seeing, you can see on the left there under setup options, there is a use persistent key. If you just toggle that to the right, it'll provide you that system key. You just have to know that you can only have one active persistent key at a time that's live at a time. So if you're using a persistent key in your live, you will not be able to generate another persistent key for another location simultaneously. You can't go live using the same persistent key twice or more than one time. So that's extremely important to know when it comes to RTMP and configuration. So what does it look like when you're trying to configure inside the Mevo app or the multicam app? When it comes down to the multicam app on the left side, a lot of people don't know that you can actually use your finger and scroll to the right, and you will be able to locate the RTMP option. Once you actually get to that page, you'll be able to press add and enter all of the details that you need. And then on the Mevo 2.0 app, it is the second to last option before Vimeo. You'll see RTMP, and then you'll select new RTMP. Once you actually select those options, this is what it looks like in the Mevo 2.0 app. You can put in the name of the event. Mind you, this name does not really matter. It's specifically for you to organize your events inside the Mevo 2.0 app. That stream URL is directly from the pages that I previously covered, and then the stream key. We do have those copy and paste options. I don't know if you noticed. Let me go back a few slides here. You can see they offer the copy. I recommend just pressing that button. It's going to copy it. And then once you get it to your application, you're going to press the paste button, because that is the easiest way to get a correct RTMP URL and key without any kind of errors. If you try to manually do it, often you may miss a key or something because it's not showing it all in one time or all in one frame, and you may actually have to scroll over to get all of it. So using those copy and paste buttons is very important. But I want to stress once again, that name does not matter. It's specifically for you and to stay organized within the Mevo app. That is not sent anywhere. It does not reflect the title of your actual event when it gets to the destination you're streaming to. And then in the Mevo 2 or multicam app, this is what it looks like. It's very similar. You'll see the server URL and the stream URL. Basically, what you're going to want to do is you're going to put the stream title in. Once again, this is just a name. This does not actually publish to the destination you're going to. And then you'll see enter RTMP server URL and RTMP stream key below. You'll just copy and paste it in, much like you did in the Mevo 2.0 app. Now, I know that was a lot of information, so it's time to take some more questions. And it looks like we don't have that many. So please, if you are watching live today, ensure you put your questions in the chat. I'm more than happy to answer those and do any kind of demos and things like that. Let me see here. I'm just going to scroll down just a little bit. Oh, thank you, Joseph, for giving that article. I really appreciate that very much. Okay, so Fred the Hippo is back and says, any way to make slow motion time-lapse recordings with multicam? So what I would recommend, I almost did a time-lapse, but I really didn't want to put much time into it. In the Mevo app, there's not a way. However, you can 100% do this using any kind of video editor, whether it's like iMovie or something like that. You can create time lapses. All you have to do is record the video, put it into the editor that you're trying to use, and then you have to use the software to do the time lapse. Mevo 2.0 is not going to do it. Multicam's not going to have that in the because they don't have any editing functionality, right? So you have to do it in post using any kind of video editor. Most widely used editors has the ability to do something like that. But I wanted to do a time lapse between New York and Ohio. I go back and forth quite a bit, so I thought about doing that, but that's like a 10-hour drive, and I didn't want to plug in the Mevo, to be honest. And it's a big file if you think about it. I would want to do the highest quality, which means 50 megabytes per second for that, which we'll talk about backup options in a minute. All right, well, that was the only question, which is pretty quick. But hopefully, if you guys are not in here, make sure you put your questions in the chat. I would love to answer those. All right, so let's go ahead and get back into this full screen view and get back into it. So recording with a backup. Ooh, let's get out of here. All right, so reasons that you would want to use a Mevo Start opposed to a Mevo Plus. So when you're recording a backup, for those worst case scenarios, you have the Mevo Plus, you're going to be recording a backup of your stream with any imperfection. So we talked a little bit about poor network performance, whether you're using a mobile network or you're using just a network that there's not enough bandwidth to go around. You know, it's like just congested. You're going to get any kind of blip or any kind of frame drops or any kind of, whatever may happen. It's going to affect the copy that you're going to get in the SD card. When it comes to the Mevo Start, you're going to get independent recording that is independent of the stream with no imperfections, which means any kind of issue that you have with the stream without actual complete failure, any kind of frame drop, any kind of issues that you may have with your stream, that will not reflect in your recording. And most importantly, the quality of your Mevo Start recording is up to 50 megabytes per second, which exceeds the quality you could get with the streaming service. So when you're streaming in 1080p from your Mevo Start or your Mevo Plus, you're typically looking at about a 6 megabyte per second bit rate. So obviously that 50 megabyte per second bit rate is going to be significantly better than that 6 megabyte per second. So you're actually going to get not only a copy of that recording, it's going to be better quality overall opposed to that lower quality that you'd get with the Mevo Plus recording. So there's definitely some huge benefits when it comes to those options. Now let's get into hoping for the best and preparing for the worst. I know this is often what a lot of people don't want to do. You know, like the last thing anybody wants to do is think about worst case scenarios. But that's unfortunately the sad truth about live streaming. There's a lot of variables that go into live streaming, and that, like, there's networks, there's destinations. Who knows? You know, maybe Facebook's having issues or YouTube's having issues. Maybe you're using like some GoPro, or not GoPro, but the what is it? The Rode Go microphones, the wireless microphones. Maybe those run out of battery. Maybe you forgot to charge your Mevo Start before you went out on the road. Maybe your network's just failing, or you try to use the destination's network and you notice that, you know, they have some restrictions and maybe like a school network or something. So what you really want to do is make sure you have plans for each one of those scenarios. So if you know that you may be going into a scenario where the network may not be the most accessible network, or the network may not be fast enough, make sure you have a backup, such as the Mevo hotspot with a mobile device with a decent upload speed. Make sure you test that upload speed. Make sure you have a backup network, or if you don't have one, then at the very least, make sure you have a SD card with that high writing speed. That way you can get a full quality backup to your Mevo. So at least you're getting that recording if, you know, the upload speed may not be sufficient for a 1080p stream. So you can indeed, with the Mevo Start, stream at a lower quality and record at full quality. So you could go to like a 480 or 720p stream and still get that 1080p 50 megabyte per second recording. So that's something to keep in mind. And then for your destination plan, we all know that Facebook can go down, YouTube can go down. As you all know, very many streaming destinations have been getting absolutely bombarded with people streaming. New streamers, returning streamers, people really pushing the limits of these servers. So when any of these platforms have issues, you want to make sure you have a plan for a backup platform. So if you have, you know, API access for Facebook, maybe configure the RTMP. They don't only just communicate differently, but they typically use different servers between the two. So if you are seeing that you may be having API issues, make sure you have an RTMP configured just in case. If you are using YouTube, same thing. If you have 1,000 subscribers, then you can use the API option, but you can also use the RTMP option. If one key fails, make sure you have a second RTMP configured. That way you're good to go. And then once again, you can use one platform or the other. You don't have to just use one. You can absolutely use the other as a backup. So as we are today, we're going live to YouTube and Facebook. If one of the platforms were having an issue, we would simply go to the other and then share the link. That way everyone has access to it. And then a secondary audio source, like I had mentioned, maybe your Rode Go microphones or your wireless microphones has some issues. Well, maybe you have the Mevo Mic app configured. The Mevo Mic app's a free app where you can use your mobile device as a wireless microphone. It's free on the Google Play Store and the Apple App Store. So, you know, if your wireless microphone goes out, then you still have your mobile device that you can use as an audio source on the go. You can always also bring backup power sources. We talk about the backup power source of the Mevo Start. That could be also used for your audio source. So have a power bank or something. You know, you can get pretty cheap power banks on Amazon, maybe like $20 or so, and you could technically run your Mevo Start off of that, or even charge other devices, whether it's, you know, like a mobile router, a mobile modem, whatever it may be. Having a backup power source in case you forgot to bring a battery, or if you are running off batteries, make sure you bring like extra batteries if they're exchangeable for the device you're trying to use. Excellent. So hopefully everything I covered today was extremely useful for all of you. I really tried to harp a little bit on planning for worst case scenarios, because we all know with technology, it's simply like we try to make it as flawless as possible, but there are a lot of variables. You've got the platform, you have servers, you have APIs, RTMP keys, you have networking, whether it's your internet service provider, your mobile service provider, you have your mobile device. There are a lot of variables that go into a successful live stream. So you want to make sure that you're testing, and having those backups prepared. That way, if something does go wrong, you're ready to go. All right, I'm going to get into some questions again. Let's take a look. Mark Freeman says, can the multicam app post live to Zoom or StreamYard? So StreamYard accepts RTMP, so you can 100% use multicam to go to StreamYard, I believe, right? StreamYard does accept RTMP. I just want to confirm. Let me just make sure. Here we go, custom RTMP live streaming. Yes, they have an article here. So maybe, do they accept RTMP? I'm unsure actually. So I'm not seeing RTMP as a destination for StreamYard. I can see you can send to RTMP from StreamYard. I'll have to confirm, honestly. I'm not positive. As far as Zoom, no, multicam does not output as a webcam, so it can't go to Zoom. But I'm not positive if StreamYard accepts RTMP or if they only accept like NDI or webcam sources. But if it is only NDI and webcam sources, then multicam is not an option. However, if you can stream to StreamYard using RTMP, then you could absolutely use multicam for that. Paul says, after connecting to Livestream Studio 6 with Mevo Start, Studio cannot start the stream. We simulcast to Facebook, YouTube, streaming 1080 from Mevo to Studio. Okay, it looks like you've already been or someone already recommended you open a ticket. It's a great suggestion. Unfortunately, just not enough real information to provide. I would also open up a ticket with Vimeo, because Vimeo owns Livestream Studio 6. So when it comes to like actual Livestream Studio issues, where it comes to, so like if you can connect your Mevo to Livestream Studio, but Livestream Studio is not allowing you to start your stream, then that would be a Livestream Studio issue. Now, if you can't connect your Mevo to Livestream Studio, then it could be a mixture of issues between the two. But if you're seeing your Mevo inside Livestream Studio and then you're trying to go live to or within Livestream Studio, then I would be contacting Vimeo directly. Unfortunately, that's kind of out of our wheelhouse when it comes to actually starting the stream from their software. Caesar says, how can we insert graphics in the stream? So if you're using Mevo 2.0 app, which I am ready to show you, let's just go straight to the full. Oh, there we go. All right, so you're going to notice that the audio between the sync between what you're seeing in this preview and what you're hearing is going to be a little off, because I am doing a stream. I'm streaming this iPad to your screen, or to my screen. So there's going to be a slight delay. So just kind of ignore that if possible. So when you're trying to add logos or graphics or something, basically, first things first, you're going to want to log into your account. So on the top here, you'll see that I am logged into my Vimeo Premium account. However, a Vimeo Producer account can do the same things. So once I'm actually logged in, this bottom right, you'll see the furthest to the left icon. It's the little stanchion there. Looks like a little piece of art. If you just tap on that, that'll be unlocked once you're logged in the Vimeo. And you can add graphics like just by tapping on things like this. So I've got some graphics here. We can add a slide, add some text, add some images. You can do double layered text if you want to. You can change the colors. You can change, all of these types of things, right? And you can do all of that on the fly. So we can just type in whatever you want. Now this iPad is not very responsive, is it? There we go. Perfect color. Let's just check that off. I also have some really cool graphics of my dog down here, which is awesome. So we're just gonna, he's the goodest boy. And you can see I can apply that. And then on the top right here, you'll see that it's actually applied to the stream. Let me see. I think I'm actually using, am I using a different camera? No, I think I am using this one. So let me see if I can go back to this desk set. Awesome. So now you can see the graphic that I just applied. This is what it looks like on the user's end. And then let's go back to the demo here. And all I would have to do is I can remove it here, press this little check mark, and it is gone. Now, you also can do other things like bugs over here. So I've got a little Mevo bug. You can go back to the graphics and just tap around and it'll switch it from side to side. You can throw some PDFs up. So I've got, for example, what is this? Today's? No. Oh, here it is, this one. So this is the slide I just went through. You can see there's some arrows over here. Let me make this full screen again for easy to use. You can see some arrows. I can tap right here. And on the user's end, that's what they'll see. And then you also have in the bottom left here some other arrows that I can kind of rotate through the slides. And now you can see what it looks like here as I tap this arrow. And it just swaps. And there's really a lot of really cool ways you can do this. You can also do full screen overlays. You can do the time countdown. So we've got our Mevo Live countdown here. That's what this looks like. Let's get rid of that. And you can, let me remove it. You can also put those countdowns over here. So like maybe you're doing like on a boxing match or something, next round's in a minute, or whatever it may be. I don't know. You really can get real creative about things like that. Wonderful. So David says, can there be a baseball scoreboard built into the app? I think that's a wonderful idea. Unfortunately, I don't have a timeline on if or when that may happen, but I can assure you that that suggestion has absolutely made it to the people who would make that decision. So we definitely know that is a highly desired feature, and I completely think that would be a wonderful thing to do. We do have some really cool things on our multicam show. If you're not using multicam, if you are, check that out, where Will kind of covers on how you could do something like that. And speaking of our multicam show, it's a good time for me to mention that we do go live 4 times a week. Tuesdays, you have Ask Mevo Anything, which is today's show. Wednesdays, we have Mevo Multicam Show, which is with Will Kirkpatrick. He's the senior technical specialist here at Mevo, and he goes the ins and outs of multicam. A lot of the times he even debuts features that are not released yet and kind of shows you what kind of internal testing that we're doing before we send it out to the public. So if you're interested in things like that, tips and tricks and taking it, on the road or to like a baseball field or something like that, multicam show's the place to be. The Thursday show is the Mevo Live show. It's with myself and Will. Sometimes we bring in Joseph, or sometimes Joseph comes in and substitutes for one of us if we're gone. But basically what this is you're gonna get at least two of us. And we are going to cover things like OBS setups. We're going to talk about NDI, vMix, Ecamm, Wirecast, StreamYard, Livestream Studio 6. We're going to talk about a lot of different ways you can configure your Mevo. This last show we did on Thursday, if you were unaware, you can go to YouTube and check out the VOD there. All of our shows are saved there for you to check out at any time. But this last show, we did 7 Mevos. 5 of them are on Ethernet, 2 were on Wi-Fi. All of them are running NDI. And we did 3 different sets all over a network using PoE adapters. And it was pretty impressive. So if you're curious, I would go check that out on youtube.com at Mevo Camera. You can find all of our VODs for our shows there. And then Friday, we have the Mevo Audio Show, which is with Joseph Pisani. He's a technical specialist here as well, and he's an audio engineer. His background's in audio engineering, so he goes the ins and outs of internal audio, external audio, tips and tricks on setting up an audio mixer. We all know there's a lot of really crazy, fancy-looking knobs, and he talks about what it means. So during all of these shows, as always, you can ask questions, and we are happy to answer those regardless of what it's about. So like today, obviously, I've answered quite a bit of questions about the multicam app. I'll do my best to answer things about audio, but I am not the audio engineer, so I'll do my best. But during any of these shows, all of these guys are very capable of answering questions related to other topics. So although it's a multicam show, feel free to ask questions about anything else. If it's an audio show, great for audio, but if you have questions about any of the Mevo apps or anything, you can do that as well. And last but not least, I do want to make sure we talk about our 3-pack. So the Mevo Start 3-pack, available exclusively at Mevo.com. You can get 3 Mevo Starts. It's basically, I believe it's $9.99. So it's basically buy 2, get 1 half off, and you get 3 Mevo Starts. Now, I think this is commonly overlooked because we do often talk about it with the multicam app, as you can see here on the picture. But I think it's often missed that you don't have to use the multicam app. You can use these with any other platform. in NDI mode. These cameras are the same cameras you would get in a single purchase. So that also means that if you purchase a 3-pack, you don't have to keep 3 of them. If you have family members who could use one, you can hand those out. They don't have to be used together. You can give them to family members. You can give them to colleagues. You can use them in your company and kind of spread them around your conference rooms, whatever you may want to do. So although it is a 3-pack and we do tie that typically with our multicam app, there are many ways you can use these. Each one of them can be used as a webcam around the house. You can use them all individually. You can use them together. You can use them in conjunction with existing Mevo, whether it's a first gen or Mevo Plus in the multicam app. There are a lot of ways to use Mevo. So go ahead, go check out the multicam, or not the multicam, the Mevo 3-pack on mevo.com for $9.99. And I guess not last but least, but we also have a referral program. If you do not need any more Mevo product, but you know people who do, you can sign up at mevo.com/referral. This is for US customers or US users. You can create yourself a custom coupon code, name it after your YouTube channel, Twitch channel, your organization, your baseball league, football league, whatever it may be. You can create that custom coupon code, hand that out. You will save whoever you refer 5% on their purchase on Mevo.com, and you will pocket 5%. So you'll earn yourself 5% commission, which, you know, I've looked at a lot of the affiliate programs out there, and 5% is pretty good. So if you're looking to, you know, recommend people, you're already doing it, you may as well go to mevo.com/referral and go ahead and save them some money. That's an incentive for them to purchase using your code, and then also earn yourself 5% from the purchase made from mevo.com. All right, I'm going to check one more time for some questions just to kind of wrap things up before we do. Let me just look. Oops, I almost ended a stream. Excellent. Awesome. So we actually had some pretty good viewership today. Don't forget, we will be live again tomorrow with Will Kirkpatrick with the Multicam app. Once again, you can answer or ask any question you want, and we're happy to demo and do all of those things. So until tomorrow's show, I appreciate you coming and hanging out with me for the last, what, we had an hour yet? Yeah, about an hour. You know, I felt like I went way too fast with this show. No, we're at 45 minutes. Okay, fair enough. So we're at 45 minutes. Went really fast. Thanks for coming and hanging out with me. Until tomorrow's show, I will see you all next time. Thanks.